All season long, the AUDL's West Division has been dominated by two teams, only one of whom can survive and advance the championship weekend. The Los Angeles Aviators won the West a year ago and appear to be peaking at the right time now, with a fun mix of veterans and rookie firepower keeping LA among the most entertaining teams in the league. Meanwhile, the San Diego Growlers are on their own mission, determined to move on to their first Final Four in franchise history. Tonight, it's the AUDL West Division title game. Los Angeles at San Diego, coming up on Stadium right now.
Quit all three of my sports just to play more Ultimate. I've been playing ever since.
It's intoxicating when you first start. The creativity is endless in Ultimate.
You would do anything to catch that disc.
A behind-the-back flip.
We welcome you to the 2019 AUDL playoffs in sunny San Diego. It's the West Division Championship game featuring the Los Angeles Aviators and the hometown San Diego Growlers. These are two. So that was July 20th, and now it is April 30th, not quite a year later, but we welcome you to another edition of Thursday Night AUDL Rewind, presented by Deschutes. My name is Evan Lepler. We got Jonathan Goose Helton with a championship t-shirt, kind of a bit of a spoiler, but no harm done there. Aaron Weaver, I mean, what's going through your mind as you see Goose's evening apparel?
Dude, too soon. I gotta get a shirt.
Thanks to both of you for being here. Thanks to all who are watching from near and far. Good morning to the folks who are watching us in Europe. Liam Grant, I'm talking to you. And I'm on the East Coast where it feels very much like evening, and I've got a drink. I mean, it may be a little early for you guys to start drinking, but I mean, it's a few minutes after 5 o'clock, so I'm sure that
I'm drinking.
Is that a mojito, Goose? Or
Drink.
Really watered down. It's almost entirely water. It's water.
Good. Before we get into this game and, you know, all the nuts and bolts of the Ultimate, how's life in California? Aaron, let's start with you in Santa Barbara. I've read all sorts of reports about how beaches are closed, and then you've told me that the beaches are open in Santa Barbara. So what's the deal?
Yeah, it's been kind of nice up until this weekend. The beaches have been open. People have been pretty good about staying somewhat far away. Nothing like the Orange County scene from last weekend. But the trails are open. I've been able to do some mountain sprints. A lot of not mountain sprinting. But the weather is so nice. It makes it really tough to be stuck at home. But luckily I have 4 housemates, so we keep each other entertained.
Yeah, we might get a special guest appearance from the 2019 coach of the Aviators, who's one of your roommates, Tyler Bacon. Crossing our fingers for that. Maybe at halftime or something. Get some halftime adjustments. He'll critique your first half performance on the rewind. Goose, everyone says San Diego is the nicest place in the world. Is it still the nicest place during a pandemic?
It is. We haven't. I don't know. Maybe Santa Barbara's got a beat. The beaches for San Diego in general were closed for about 2 weeks, and they were reopened a couple days ago. And then Weaver, I don't know if you saw this, but the governor of California is shutting them down tomorrow. So I had to go earlier today, run on the beach with Kayla. A much more accomplished Ultimate player than I, and get some touches in before we don't get to touch the sand for a little while again.
Kayla, was she an assistant coach for the Growlers last year, or is she this year?
she is this year in a much more formative role, but she was as well last year and was in some cases our primary sideline coach. There was at least one weekend where she had to take over full duties. She did a great job.
So I guess I could ask both of you who are roommates with the coaches of the teams that you play for. How critical are the coaches of your performances when you get home? Goose, I'll start with you.
We see the game very similarly, and so any criticisms that she has are generally echoed by myself, even if they are of me, or if they are, of course, by my teammates at large.
Weaver?
Poor Bacon for me. Yeah. So you know me. I like to talk. I'm pretty intense at times. He had to put up with a lot. There was no real safe space for him, right? Like he couldn't really leave his work at work. He was always super nice to me despite all of my mistakes, if you will. But I think that he also enjoyed bouncing ideas off of me, and I wasn't afraid to be like, dude, come on, what are we doing here? And then he'd be like, cool. We'll change it up, go with the tried and true. Yeah, so I think for the most part, well, he survived me. That's kudos to him for that.
Fair enough. We're going to be watching the West Division Championship game. Each of the past couple years, San Diego and LA have met in this particular game. And last year, the Growlers were pretty dominant during the regular season, much like the Aviators were the year before. So, Aaron, let me start with you. What was your mindset coming into this West Division Championship game? An opportunity to go back to championship weekend is at stake. You know how that felt from 2018, and yet you hadn't had a whole lot of success against the San Diego team through the regular season.
Yeah, man, it's so fun. Any given Sunday, you hear that phrase all the time, right? San Diego, we see them all the time. We're rivals. Anything can happen, right? We have the Condors connection where we're constantly practicing with each other. Everybody knows each other really well. So it really just comes down to who has the best day and who can perform better under that pressure. And so even though we had lost to them a bunch in the regular season, we were also tinkering all season long. Bacon was drawing up all sorts of crazy schemes, messing with our lineups each game. And so it was just like we felt like we were peaking at the right time. And any given Sunday, you show up, punch them in the mouth in the first quarter, and then see what happens. So happened did not work out that way, but
and as everyone will see over the next couple of hours, you guys gave them an incredibly tight, exciting game. Unfortunately, it was Saturday night and not Sunday for you. Goose, any nerves about not wanting to fall short? Fulfilling the goal of getting the Growlers to championship weekend for the first time? What do you recall?
I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but I was bouncing back and forth between a couple of Frisbee events. But part of that is because I wasn't totally comfortable with the position that we were in to secure that game. I felt like I really needed to do everything I could to be there and try to make sure that we were successful and putting a good touch on the season. We were dominant during the season, but we were never truly dominant. If you look at the spread of points for all of our games, it was very small. We did not win by large margins, not just against LA, but any team very often. So many of our games came down to who could win the most buzzer beater moments, and we happened to be the team who prevailed at that most of the time.
Good stuff. Let's dive into the start of this game. I have really fond memories. I didn't really get out to the West Coast all that much last season, which was a good thing for our Game of the Week crew driver, Luke Johnson, who's producing tonight. he has to drive all the equipment around, so he didn't have to, go to California too much. But I love getting out to the West Coast, and this was my first time at this facility. Is this Mission Bay High School?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so it was. I thought it was a great venue. The broadcast booth was kind of right next to all the fans, and you guys had a great crowd, and the game began with a quick turnover. And I'll lay out as much as I can and let you guys just react to what you see. Weaver, the Aviators in the white, you're wearing your red tonight, but not the ideal start for the O-line that you guys were looking for.
Yeah, man, a lot of nerves. This is the first time I ever played offense this season, and I had never experienced nerves before a game before playing offense. So I think that a lot of people were nervous heading into this game.
That's crazy, Weaver. You're solid on O, especially in the backfield. That's I wouldn't have expected.
Dude.
I'm serious. I wouldn't have expected to hear if this was your first season, or that first sequence of games of you being heavily offensive.
Yeah, even better, it happened mid-season, right? Like I started the season out on defense, and then Bacon, with all of his scheming, threw me in on offense in Seattle. And luckily they were having a down season, so he was super comfortable with that. We actually ran with a Santa Barbara line for offense that game, and I was trembling. I didn't sleep the night before. Traveling to Seattle's always tough because you have the day of flight. You get in an hour and a half before game time. You gotta deal with rental cars and all that stuff. So it was a gnarly experience. I don't really like offense all that much. It's pretty easy too, which is fun. But not when you throw it behind your receiver first throw. That's tough. Execution errors happen. Smack him on the butt.
Stay on the field?
It happens. Let's go do it again.
You stay on the field for this next point, or you guys switch it up?
We had a pretty quick rotation. If we got broken, we're all pretty confident playing offense. Our defense is so used to playing offense, so we can just sub anybody in. It's kind of our philosophy. Yeah, there's your boy.
Hey Goose, I'm just curious. You just pulled with a flick there. Do you prefer to pull with flicks as opposed to backhand?
It totally depends on wind conditions for me. Ooh, that was a nice throw. Yeah, there are certain times when you can throw, at least for me, I can throw kind of an S-curve flick pull, and I can't do that with a backhand for some reason. I can throw, long hang time backhands, but I can't S-curve it, and an S-curve will stay in the air much longer if you have the right wind for it. Man, that's a lot of trust from McDougal to Mr. Theodore.
Was there a breeze at all this game? Yeah, you gotta see the jerseys ripple. I feel like there was always some sort of nonsensical breeze in this stadium.
Well, yeah, I mean, that seemed to happen from time to time. Most of the time at this location, one of the reasons I like it so much is that once the sun went down, usually there wasn't any wind. And so, you kind of got a tale of two halves, where you might get a little bit of wind in the beginning, especially when people are nervous, and then you kind of get to settle in and play a different game in the second half.
Yeah. Oh, man. Sean Hamm, is he done? I heard that rumor that he is making the transition to live after Frisbee.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he still has some military obligations, and that would preclude him from being a part of our 2020 season for the bulk of it. I think he's going to try to be a part of it when he could.
Bummer. Just kidding. I love Sean Hamm.
Oh, Sean's our outlet, man. Sean and Dunn are both when things go wrong, you just give them a chance to make a play, and they do.
Yeah.
And
That's
speaking
Sean
of the devil
McDougal and Jeff Silverman. Russ.
Yeah, that's right.
Moving the disc from side to side, it really gives the downfield cutters a lot of opportunity to time their cuts, to set it up. It enables them to do
Drum.
things like this.
Man, Drum was one of the major reasons we had such a successful season. That guy,
Drum's
he's
underrated.
super underrated. Yeah, he helped win that beach nationals. He's always got like the toughest matchup, Antoine, Dunn, and he just like makes them work. He's so scrappy.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love him. He's a great teammate.
He got a block in the air on me in our first game of the season. It was just kind of a floaty ball. It was a little bit short, and I certainly underestimated him and was like, all right, rest of the year I'm going up high point.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll get you.
Oh, man, you got Calvin?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. All I knew about Calvin Brown at this point was that he was going to be a teammate of mine on Condors. He was a slow kid, Cal Poly slow. And I had no idea how much of a treat it was going to be for y'all to have him toward the end of the season. He is an exceptional talent. 18 years old during this game.
It's nutty. Our crop of youth is outstanding. KJ, Danny.
Yeah. KJ. Yeah, you're going to see KJ next in this game too. And Danny just catches goals. Danny was relentlessly catching goals on us. It was, I would say, embarrassing, but at some point you just have to be like, he's good.
Yeah, it's his intuition, man. He catches you sleeping. He sets himself up so well, just so nonchalantly. He'll jog to a space, and then somebody will catch a disc in power position, and he's gone.
Yeah. He was one of the guys who made the U20 team, I believe, this year. I don't know if they're going to get a fair shake at a World's Championship or not, but because of all the current events, but I certainly hope so. Those events are so cool, and I imagine for most people at 20 years old and under, this is their like one shot. Maybe they get two until they age up into the next group, U24.
Yeah, until they take their domination to the next tier, each step of the way.
Yeah,
Team USA is not seen enough.
Yeah.
Hey, Goose, was that Radlauer throwing that lefty flick up the line there?
Yeah, I believe it was. Radlauer's, it's between him and Will Turner, in my opinion, for probably like our top defenders. Just like put them out there and make them, use their young legs to run the other team's best players into the ground, and then they're usually quite good at the disc afterwards. Will ends up being in the backfield a lot, and Amari ends up just cutting all over the field until his person gets too tired to care anymore. And Amari, I know Scott Radlauer, his nickname is Amari, he's been spending a considerable amount of time developing areas that he perceives to be his weaknesses in this offseason. So he's been throwing a ton. He's not a bad thrower as it is, but I think he's just working on having greater consistency with throws like that one you just saw.
It's good to hear. But you're also sleeping on Marcel, a new aviator. Swooped him.
You swooped him, huh?
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I love.
You sure it just wasn't a trade?
So much. Oof, yeah, that's fair.
Because we got Jeff Silverman.
My man.
I'm not sure how these things get tinkered out every season with you guys, have some unspoken secret society where San Diego gets a couple LA guys and vice versa.
Yeah,
at least
a
that's
lot
how
of texting, a lot of group meetings, a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of I guess this is pre-Zoom, Google Hangouts, but also just a lot of hugs. Just like, hey man, whatever you want, we'll give it to you. Come on down.
Unless it's money.
Let me make you an all-star. Yeah, unless it's money. Padula
had a good
best
game
mark in the West.
this game. Yeah, He ended up getting a couple of really important blocks and involved in a few different plays this game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
By the way,
I love him
in
to
the
death.
in the comments, sorry Weaver, in the comments, Bacon chimes in, says that Silverman is over the hill. Thoughts?
Dude, Silverman is a unicorn. That guy lives from the hours of midnight to 5 a.m. for his day job because he has so many international colleagues. His diet is Panda Express and Coca-Cola, and he will show up, won't stretch or warm up or anything, and just annihilate everybody on the field. Just it makes no sense at all. I don't get it. But he's been able to do it for a decade now. I wish I was half as good as he is.
And I remember a few years ago when the Aviators went to Texas for that Austin-Dallas road trip, and he punctured his lung making a layout in Dallas on Sunday, and like spent a couple of days in the hospital, and then was in the lineup next week for the Aviators. I'm like, what the heck? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, scary, all around scary situation. And like we had a teammate stay behind. It was supposed to be me, but somebody else like had the computer, could work remotely, and he was feeling good. He actually brought home a super cool lung strength test, and it was awesome to like have him try it, and he could like barely get it, like 25% of the. You just like blow into a tube, right? And there's a little ball that floats and goes up, and all of us. We'd be hammered, like taking this test and crushing it, and he, being sober, just couldn't. And it was the funniest thing. It's the only thing I've been able to consistently beat Jeff at. But yeah, he makes no sense.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Right, through half a quarter here, I think each team has a break. Or maybe San Diego has a couple of breaks. But, I mean, obviously, Weaver, you guys came out with a bunch of wrinkles for this game. Did we see any of them through the first 6 minutes, or did you kind of shock San Diego with them kind of second quarter-ish?
You know, I don't recall. We'll have to – I've been so locked in on memories. I kind of wasn't paying attention to the game. But – I think that we have a couple things lined up soon to come.
Yeah, I think the tricks up the sleeve haven't come out yet, but it's we're not far away from that.
I loved and hated you guys' junk. You guys just had 4 people right there in a line in the way.
Yeah, we worked on that quite a bit. This field is so big that running an effective zone can be extremely advantageous, but it takes quite a bit of work to make it happen. Somebody jumped right there in a black jersey.
Danny Landisman, baby.
I know. No fear. What is he, 18? He just is like, well, no one else is going to jump. I'll take it. Watch everybody. Tyler goes to put a body on.
Poor Sam Fontaine.
Wow.
That's another underrated player. He's super scrappy on defense. He's always on your hip.
Yeah.
Grabbing jersey. Oh, man. Poor KJ. He knew immediately.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what has to happen for you to win. Oh.
Bigger surprise for the 2019 Aviators. Danny Landisman or Hawk Jimenez?
Hawk, for sure. Danny had a lot of success with his YCC team. He had already won a championship, I think, with Calvin and KJ. I could be mistaken on that. But Hawk literally came out of nowhere. He came from Colombia, right? And so he showed up to tryouts. He and I ended up on the same workout team within our combine. And so we just started like banging in the paint together, the Basher brothers, if you will. And I knew that he was a competitor. but I didn't know about all the flamboyance and that it would translate so well. When you're at a combine, yeah, there's guys that are fast, yeah, there's guys that can jump, there are guys that can throw, but to get a real competitive spirit and that kind of domination, if you will, that was for sure the biggest surprise. Shout out to Hawk.
He's definitely a showman. Big showman, for sure. And knows how to make plays.
That's what the sport needs, man. You need faces to give the fans a thrill.
Goose, when did you realize, how long did it take you to realize Travis Dunn was as good as he was?
So I played in Raleigh for a whole year, a whole season while living in San Diego. And I spent a few practices with San Diego trying to see if a coach invited me to come, Stuart, and participate, offer any insight that I had. But it was pretty clear early on that Travis was the real deal. I remember watching him play, I think, against a home game against Seattle in 2018, and was probably plus 10 or something like that. And the thing that really stood out to me was not just that he was, hitting hucks and reeling them in. He just was very rarely missing, right? He was extremely judicious with his aggressive decision making, and that was a sign of maturity that I didn't expect out of a player who, you're not going to hear until this past year. You probably didn't hear his name a whole lot, but you could tell in 2018 with that sort of poise that he was going to be a difference maker, that he was going to be kind of an anchor for the team.
That's a rare point for him on defense.
In the comments, Bacon points out that was a rare Goose versus Weaver matchup on that point. I guess, Goose, you were on D. What was the game plan trying to slow down Weaver and his man bun?
Oh, man. Yeah, sometimes you just get lost in those locks. It's tough. Oh, speaking of tough, here comes a double team. This isn't the first time, or this isn't going to be the last time you'll see it. Sometimes the double team will end up being bigger. Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes just, Travis and I get pushed over to D when we can. And I decided to take Weaver, and I was utterly ineffective. So anytime I go in again, I probably don't end up on Weaver.
That was fun, man. I was chirping at you, and I don't normally chirp. It's like I save it for Nate Bridges. Me and him have a very special relationship. But I was trying to get a rise out of you because I thought that if I could get in your head, just get you thinking a little bit, you would start to melt a little bit. Because sometimes that works with people, right? You say something here or there. I mean, that's Nate Bridges' strategy, tried and true for years. And you didn't react at all. It was so brutal. You didn't even laugh. You didn't hear it. You just didn't acknowledge it. I was like, man, this is lame. Not even a hello. Yeah. I think at one point I started saying hi to you.
If I'm totally honest, I don't recall the banter at all. I totally tune that stuff out, and I'm usually focused at the task at hand. I mean, to your credit, that can definitely work against players, and it's definitely worked on me from one time to another. But to your disadvantage, I was showing up to this game. I showed up 45 minutes before the game started, and I flew in from Denver, Colorado, from Aurora, playing at Masters Nationals. And so I had just played a game all day of Friday Ultimate and Saturday Ultimate. So aside from a brief intermission of being on an airplane, I was just kind of in the zone. And I knew that the next day I had semifinals and finals at Masters Nationals if Boneyard was able to keep it going. So yeah, I didn't hear a word you said. Sorry.
That's fine. That was a bomb by Sam.
Yeah.
I love playing with that guy. I've been so annoyed that he keeps going to San Diego. He lives in Santa Barbara. We work out together.
Right.
Come on, man.
He's getting better and better. I told him with great transparency at the end of the year that we were his backfield acumen was a large driver of our success because we needed him to drive the ball on defense, whether it's occasionally taking more aggressive shots like to one of the fastest guys on the field there, Max Hume, or just play every other, take the smart shots. He's got it in his quiver.
Yeah. You know what else he has in his quiver? Shit talking. He is one of the most elite shit talkers I've ever played drinking games against. He doesn't talk shit on the ultimate field, but in drinking games, he'll let you have it.
He doesn't practice. Condor's practice. He let the offense have it.
Good. Come on, offense, get it together.
That's right.
So one thing I do want to... Oh, Jesus. This is terrible.
Let it rip.
Not a strength. Triple coverage,
Bacon.
throwing to the shortest man downfield. That's trust. That's a trust throw right there.
Yeah.
I love Bacon. If I see Bacon, I'm throwing it to him. 9 times out of 10, he's going to make the right decision. He's going to make the play. He's going to make me look good, thankfully. But that throw, most ill-advised throw of my career. I'm not a hooker. Even though I was playing center handler, I can't throw that throw. It's not my look. What am I doing? Idiot.
Worked out.
Worked out. Yeah, look at him. Surrounded by jerseys. Great body control.
Behind every highlight is a terrible decision from a thrower. So I'm glad that I brought that to you all today. Ugh. Disappointed.
Hey, Goose. In the chat, I think Pavel, of all people, Pavel is asking if anyone's ever seen you flustered. And the one person who has said that they have is your wife, Kayla. But she's not sharing any stories. Do you have any stories, perhaps early in your AUDL career, of moments when you were flustered on the field? Or in life?
In life. I mean, I've definitely had my fair share of experiences where I've gotten irritated at the self-officiating in club ultimate when someone was just deciding to cheat. Like I was in a circumstance in a game to try to go to nationals where a guy admitted to me that he was cheating, but that it didn't matter. He called a strip on me. I caught a deep ball. He didn't touch the disc at all. He called a strip, and he just he stood by it, and there was nothing that we could do aside from give him the ball back. That was pretty frustrating and flustering. On this other end of the spectrum, there are a lot of times when referees don't get the call right, and you and I definitely had a conversation one night after a playoff game that was on a rewind earlier this year with Raleigh and Dallas. And I definitely let some bad calls get under my skin, as well as just like a little over what I would consider the line to be in terms of contact, which again can be controlled by the referees. That I let bother me. Of all people, Brett Matsuka has been one of the people who's been the most influential to me about mindset for this sort of thing. Like he, in practice, every time if there is a bad call, or let's just say we happen to have a referee at practice or a player acting as a referee, and a play went against us that was clearly like erroneous call, he would eat it up. He would just look at it as a challenge, and just like go for it, like stack the deck against me. I don't care. Make it as hard as possible, and that has helped me in the last couple of years kind of rise above this level of frustration that you can get by like banter or officiation, self or official. Weaver,
you're delivering a really mature, intellectual, smart response, and Weaver's asking his housemates for beverage service in the comments.
Nice.
I ran out, man. Ugh. Where's the shoots at? I need a refill.
Weaver,
No.
when did the white tights start?
Honestly, I've had a lot of problems with my knees. I have like severe tendonitis. Also, like I've gone to 4 different doctors. They all say different things. They're probably all true to some degree, but I started wearing. My mom bought me tights. Yeah, Reese Stevens Field, baby. My mom bought me a pair of tights because she read something online, and I wore them, and my legs just randomly felt better for whatever reason. Maybe it was an easier workout. But yeah, I stopped getting turf burn. My legs felt better, and so that just kind of became a thing. And then in twofold, my parents were able to find me easier wearing them. And then it was something that my mom could buy me. She felt like she was involved in my success, and it was just like a really good thing overall. So yeah, that's why I wear tights. Long-winded story.
Well, you just saw us blow an end of quarter situation.
Yeah, end of quarter situations are so pivotal in success of like in just winning. If you get 4 out of 4, you're gonna win a game.
Oh, for sure. It could be an 8-point swing. Yeah, you see me like take Jesse under my shoulder right there. Just saying like, hey man, we still had like 6 seconds left. We could have looked for something other than that darty scuba.
Oh man,
he's like, yeah,
Bacon,
you're right.
Bacon was the victim of several of those talks from me because he's one of our shooters, right? And having Hawk and Danny and Bomber, some baller receivers, and so a lot of end of quarter situations during the season where we try to like 12 seconds. You can get 60, 70 yards in 12 seconds, but everybody gets so trigger happy when it's getting close. Yeah, it's such an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, one of the things that we spent an inordinate amount of time on in 2019 was end of quarter situations, and I couldn't really argue with the decision based on the results. We really did quite well in those end of quarter situations, better than most teams I've been on. DC Breeze I played on one year, notoriously bad at end of quarter situations.
Dang. All right, DC Breeze. Something to work on. What's our coach's name? Stanley? There you go, Stanley. Pointers.
Yep, Daryl Stanley. Yeah. It started under Dutchy and just never really evolved on that front much. This is where we're the most successful, as teams would talk about watching us and trying to stop particular things that we would do, and it would be whenever we would just move the disc all the way to a sideline, counterattack all the way across the field, and then go upfield. It was really hard to stop us. It's really, to be honest, just classic good Frisbee, but you get lulled into a sense of that being unnecessary with a much wider field.
Yeah, it's true. Break the mark, then you're off to the break train. Choo-choo! One thing that happened at last point, our full coverage this game for both teams was remarkable. Look, right there.
Yeah.
First throw was tough. If you can do that every single point of the game, you're going to find success.
Yep.
Calvin. Oh, you a little bit of a misread, maybe, but
yeah, that was certainly catchable. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard when you're in a McDougal situation there to have enough like time or wherewithal to know that there's not a deep lurking right behind you, where you can just kind of run onto that uncontested.
Definitely. And this is where that breeze comes to play, right? I think that's downwind.
Yeah.
And so
maybe.
He's trying to attack
that
it.
Was Marcel right there.
Breeze.
You still excited? I'm just kidding.
Dude, yeah, totally. Drop tapping. But
Marcel's
this is brutal. Nate got away with some shit right here. And if only we were teammates, we'd probably be cool. I think he's a really good person,
Yeah.
but oh geez Louise, look at that thrower. Man, yeah. Talk about dirty. Ugh.
Woo!
Oh man. Another tough read.
Hume, again, one of the fastest players on the field, and I don't even think he realizes how high he can reach. We did some like target approach jumps in the middle of the Condor season, and he was reaching higher than almost everybody on the team, and I don't even know that he realized it at the time. So, you know, he's just one of those players that, you know, fast players usually can jump, and he's one of those.
Yeah, I'm really bummed that I never played Condors with Hume. I've always liked his game. He keeps it above board. He just balls out. He's like freaking Mario out there, just like a 91 across the board in all of his skill set.
Yeah, he is an extremely important cog in our team's wheel. We just put him on a lot of times the most challenging handler assignment, depending on like what that person's skill set is, because we either need to frustrate their ability to catch a reset, or we just want to make them try to run around more than they really want to run around, because he's happy to run around.
Yeah, I think most defensive players are. When I played D against you all, I loved marking up against Dom because he does not like to run. And as soon as we would get a turnover, it didn't matter where I was running. I would be like a rookie. I just start running, and eventually he caught on. He'd be like, switch, yeah, get weaker, I got the anchor. Man, I love Dom.
It's true.
It's like, yeah, tried and true defensive strategy. You get a turn, you make their star players work as much as possible because they don't want to, and hopefully by the end of the game, you'll get paid dividends. Oh, body. Yeah.
Perfect throw.
Ham is almost unparalleled. Yeah, well, I mean, he took off, and I knew that I could hit him back there, and as soon as it came out of my hand, I realized that he wasn't on the same page as me. So, I mean, you called it right here. You said he wasn't expecting it. And then he's able to just like make up the fact that that we weren't on the same page, and then just put his body in the way. He's an incredible receiver in the way that he like fends off defenders. I'm sure he got a little frustrated here by taking a shin to the face after getting a little bit of body.
Yeah, Garrett put up a little bit of an arm bar, and then Sean got away with a little bit of a push-off. I mean, that's just a clear example of this rivalry game, right? We are out here fighting. After this game, I had scratch marks across my chest. I was all bruised up in my upper body. And I don't think I dove one time. It was all just from all those grabby hands.
It's one of our strategies. That's how we got the name Growlers. It's just as we're playing defense, we scratch across your chest, and that's how you know you played against us.
I thought it was from all the purring. The rah, rah, rah.
Yeah, it was the purring.
Oh, man. I think we had to replace Ace the Aviator this year, and they were doing auditions during one of our practices, and one of them had apologies to that person if they're watching, but one of them had the idea of like trying to make fun of the Growlers cheer and like led a some sort of like rawr chant. And it was like just the funniest thing to try to like block out. You're listening to coach. You got this roaring going on in the background. Mascot child. It was the funniest thing.
I like how you call it purring, personally. We're gurring, which is very similar.
Yeah, it certainly did.
Grrr. Weaver's still catching goals, man. Get out of here.
Dude,
this is such a quick turn of events.
Yeah, it almost looked like at the very last.
You hate to see that, picking up the disc being on the wrong page.
That's brutal.
But no matter.
Dude, Sean is so clutch for y'all. He
Yeah.
can do a little bit of everything too.
He really can. He stepped up in a big way. Go ahead.
He's underappreciated for his speed as well. He's super fast. So is Theodore, Mr. Mustache. Mr. Mustache has wheels. The thing about him is like you watch him run and you just don't see it. There's some sort of illusion to him running that makes it look effortless. And he's covering a lot of ground.
Is that the 13
I
feet
agree.
double team right there?
Yeah. We have
Bomber.
two big boys. Bomber, I think he's like 6'7",
Kirchhoffer?
and then Nick Kirchhoffer is 6'2", 6'3". And so we set up the zone, have the offense sprint to us, and then we take away the deep look. Because Bomber is not the quickest guy on the field, so now we don't have to guard the over-the-top space. And it was very effective for us this season. It was a brilliant creation from Tyler, Coach Tyler Bacon.
I mean, obviously he's very tall and has a big wingspan, but having been in that position where you get trapped near the sideline or on the sideline, and I'd probably turn it over later this game in that situation, the most challenging part is you can't see the field. His shoulders are at least at like 6 foot high. So, me being 5'12", they're just buried below his shoulder line. And so I'm just like trying to be on my tippy toes to see anything. It's no good. It's tough.
Sorry to poke fun. 5'12" is 6 feet. Goose, come on, man.
What was that?
But 5'12", 6 feet.
Yeah. No, I did the math.
Hashtag, he did the math. I had the luxury of playing Bomber in college, and I was like, yeah, I got this guy. I'm so much quicker than him, no problem. And there'd be times he's cutting under, and he'd turn around and have the disc in hand, like just to your point. Like I had no idea. I couldn't see around him. So I'd be on his hip, but I would have no clue. Yeah. Nice asset to have on the team.
Yeah. Especially, he's like a
Super
specialty
bummer.
player, right? And there aren't a ton of those. I think we'll, as the league continues to mature, find really cool ways of using and creating essentially a special team player. Like Trevor Purdy, of course, on our team, he's like 6'6". He's one of my go-to targets for end of quarter situations because making a play on him in the air is going to be super tough. Even if it's a crowd of people, no one's getting a clean jump, and he's just going to be able to, even if he doesn't get a clean jump, he's just going to stand there and catch it.
Yeah, totally. My strategy against Purdy when I'm playing defense is just find him and just body him. Even if we're at like the 30-yard line of the opposite end zone, I'm bodying him. He's got to fight through me to even sniff the end zone. Oh.
Oof. Aggressive look from Calvin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Blade is still one of those underrated players as well. You just don't hear his name enough, considering how good he is.
Yeah, it's that West Coast bias, man. Condor's always getting slept on. Skirt's always getting slept on. Aviator's always getting slept on. Let's go, Lep. Come on, baby. Come out to the West Coast.
Dude, your team's down by 4 right now. I don't know what we would talk about.
Oof.
Oh.
The dagger.
Scoreboard was called.
It's tough. Don't worry, we got a lot of scrap. Couple questionable decisions.
There was a question in the comments after we were talking about the sound a growler makes. What sound does an aviator make?
I don't know. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, that's way better than what I thought you were doing. I thought you were doing that woo noise. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just a slow burn crash.
Yeah. That's good. What is this? San Fontaine fouling me? Probably.
Probably. It's just
Maybe
trying to give you the business a little bit.
You were talking about the bruises you had after this game. How much more physical was this than the average AUDL game? And was it because it was a playoff game or because it was just a Southern Cal game and y'all knew each other or what?
Every single game against the Growlers is physical, but when playoffs are on the line, it's always the next level. For sure, it's something in the air. Obviously, it's the playoffs that's in the air. Yeah. It reminded me, actually, have you guys been watching the Last Dance at all?
Sure.
I want to. I haven't yet.
It's fantastic.
There's a little segment about the bad boys from Detroit, the Pistons, and how they would just beat up opposing players. And that really, like, in that moment, I just, like, flashed back to this game, actually. And just, like, all of the battling that had to be done. There was no free room anywhere. You had to fight for that. Bacon probably had to, like, rip through being held to get open right there. And then, obviously, he's fast and then ran away from the crew. But,
Come on, man.
Yeah, you had to fight for everything.
We got more respect for y'all than that. You definitely do
Certainly.
what you can.
That's a really pretty put.
But,
Just Bacon's blazing
I mean,
speed right there.
Has to feel good.
Well,
for LA.
Bacon is really fast. But, you know, like a lot of these guys, as mentioned, are teammates on Condors or, you know, in other ways. And so there's, as much as the Aviators love beating the Growlers and vice versa, I mean, there's a lot of kinsmanship. And, like, I don't think, at least from my experience, there hasn't been really anything that's over the line. But I've played in other divisions where that is not the case.
Yeah,
That was my
that's a very
follow-up
fair
question.
point.
I mean, Goose, you're the one guy literally in the entire league that has played in all four divisions. Which is the most physical? Which is the most dirty?
I would say the South wins both of those. Ooh, that foot block. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know that there's a whole lot of objection to people who've gotten to play in multiple leagues, but the South, they're just going to play more physical in general, and a lot of times with that physicality comes what I would consider to be like a breach of the I guess you could say like the idea of what a non-contact sport should be. Yeah. But
Yeah,
you know,
I guess
even down
you
there
know,
they got respect.
I wouldn't say any of it is disrespectful. Yeah, I don't want to give that impression, but it's all like more handsy. You're working for everything, and shout out to Padula. That's best mark in the West, baby. I'd love him in the trenches. But yeah, like I think every single matchup there's a bit extra. There's always extra activities going on, right? I don't ever think that it's dirty necessarily, but it's not non-contact, if you will. Yeah.
Have either of you gotten foot blocks in the AUDL? Imagine that's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Although I've
I
seen
got
my
best
boy
mark in the
Bob
West.
Lou
No
get
big
more.
deal. No big deal.
Yeah, there's nothing better than reading somebody's pivot, knowing where a cutter's coming somehow, and then just shutting it down is remarkable. And then you just take off. You're all full of energy. Like, yeah, I just got a block. Woo! Throw me the goal. And then nobody ever does. It's always sick.
I mean, that
One
was a
thing I
huge
really-
block, right? Go ahead, Weaver.
One thing I loved having Calvin for was he got to pick up the disc. Friggin', there was a couple games where coach would call timeout. We're like, D gets a turnover in the end zone. Boom, timeout. Weaver come in. You're on the sideline in your own end zone. Break the mark real quick. Start us off. And as like a first-year offensive player, that was miserable. I really loathed everything about that. And then Calvin comes on, this cool, stone cold killer. He reminds me, he's got ice in his veins, man. He's like Damian Lillard. He just walks up to the disc, surveys the field. His throws are all beautiful. He's nice and lanky. I really appreciated having him as an asset. Take the load off my shoulders.
That throw, most people can't execute that throw that he just did, like splitting the double team. He does actually remind me a lot of a player I've enjoyed playing with for a number of years, Bob Lou, but just instead of being 5'8", 5'9", he's like 6 foot, and with that height comes additional superpowers. We're trapped.
All right, so we just saw like a 10-yard scuba pull to the sideline that is immediately turned over.
Right.
We were fired up, folks.
The Growler handlers are average height of like 5'7". Tran and Timokita. If we can throw 2 trees around them, why not?
You'll see us make an adjustment later on where we'll get Dom with the disc because he's 6'2", 6'3", or something like that, and can actually see over those shoulders and reach around some of those hands. Timokita is like 5'6", and Tran is maybe 5'11", something like that, 5'10".
This is one of those schemes that Bacon, came up with in his lair, and it worked out for most of the game.
Yeah. I'm actually super curious if the meta will change to be, instead of pulling at full field, to have those types of situations. Like if you have a smaller handler core, like if Pavel is picking up the disc, throw 2 trees around him, and see what happens, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen? They score quick. All right, cool. We get the disc back. We're down. Let's go. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's one of the objectives of pulling it short is, one, like, the offense just doesn't get into ideal positions to spread apart the defense because it's rushed. Like, you only have so much time to go pick up the disc because it's inbounds in the main part of the playing field. So you've got to get down there in like 10 seconds before the stall just starts on you. And if you don't have good targets, then you're going to have a greater success at getting blocked. Just like
don't break your computer, Weaver.
This is the first time I've watched this game since it happened, man.
Yeah, that was a huge block from Silverman.
Jesse going right there.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Jesse.
You hate to lose those opportunities.
I mean, Silverman makes those Ds that are like highlight reel, season-long highlight reel type Ds. He makes them like once a game, it feels like, or twice a game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. In college, his last year of college, they were in like pool play. They were down by 6 or something ridiculous. This is Black Tide, and it was like if they lost this game, they lose the game. They don't even get a chance to the game to go to nationals. And so apparently the legend is that he got 6 layout blocks in a row, like 6. I think it might have been bookends. That's probably me stretching the truth, but Jeff Silverman just turns it on. He gets that like demon look in his eye. Oh, man. And this is the Santa Barbara boys in action right now. Like, we try to stop the break side. Boom, I'm there. I've left my mark completely. Bacon's with me, and then Jeff comes over to help. Like, that's just team chemistry. That's years of playing Condors and then Aviators together.
Yeah, he's always looking around to see what he can take away and see what he can steal, right? It's not very often that he has to make those plays just 101. He's just super aware of what's going on and decides to disrupt the most obvious threat. Does a great job of it. I would always kind of joke around with him, though, that like he kept being assigned to guard Ham, And I just told him that doesn't make any sense, man. Like, you're looking to go help somewhere, and as soon as you do, we throw it to Ham.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're right.
Dude, yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't guard him. And then, now he's playing with us, so.
Yeah. This is fun, Evan, having live stat checkers.
Landis,
2009 against APU, Ty was down huge, and Jeff did go nuts. Thanks, Gila. Yeah. Apparently it was backdoor pre-quarters. See?
Wow.
What's some truth?
Hey, these two guys, this connection right here, their age combined is I think, my age.
How's that feel?
That's miserable.
Yeah.
Flawless ultimate between those two. I wish I was playing whenever I was their age. Or good.
Couple points ago, we Brown started after the break, threw it to Weaver, who's like the ancient 30-year-old, who then threw it right to the 18-year-old Landisman in the end zone. I mean, Weaver, it's a good thing these guys can keep you feeling young.
Yeah, young. That's what they make me feel. They show up to practice, and I'm out here huffing and puffing, trying to keep up with them. I'm glad that I'm like on my way out, so I don't have to deal with these kids. They can do things that I just never thought was possible.
Well, did it occur to you that Bacon? I mean, all throughout your career, you've been an athlete, a defender, and now you're the old man center handler for the O-line because that's really all you're good for anymore. I mean, it seems like that's what Bacon's philosophy was.
Maybe, yeah. Keep those legs fresh for the whole season. It really is funny how that's the trajectory of Ultimate players. Like, how many old defensive players are there? You make a name for yourself for throwing your body around, driving a lot, and then as you age, that becomes less and less likely to happen. You gotta play smarter by switching to O-line.
I mean, Goose, is it? I mean, you've been a all-around versatile player throughout your career, but early on in the AUDL, you were like leading the league in blocks. 30, 40 blocks a season. Was there a point in your early mid-30s where you started to shift from being D to O?
Yeah, as we mentioned, I've played in different regions or divisions and on different teams, and a lot of times it was just like a utility sort of thing. So if you look at the first year of the league, the depth of talent wasn't at all like what it is right now. And so whenever I led the league in blocks that year as an O-line player. We turned it over that much. I did cross over to play defense, but we just weren't reliable enough with the disc. So a lot of times I had to go back and, that was close, Weaver. Somebody had to get the ball back.
What are you saying there, man?
I don't know what I'm saying. Probably give me a break.
To be fair, I think you were in the end zone.
Jeez.
I think you carried yourself into the end zone, as opposed to it actually being a score. So I don't know. I don't know if we'd have to get a better look at it, but I think you might have completed that assist from inside the end zone.
Man. This is brutal. I'm living all these raw emotions. I haven't watched this game since it happened, living it. I went after I don't want to spoil the ending, but after we lost, I was depressed for 2 weeks. It was kind of gnarly, and so I swore off of it. I wasn't gonna look back at it. One day I came in, or I was had a bad day at work, was watching it at home. Colin came in and found me. He's like, "What are you doing?" Colin Gall, my teammate, 27. He shook me out of it. Get out of here! We went and played catch or whatever. But so yeah, this is the first time that I've watched this in a year or whatever it is. Man.
Hey, Goose, you were a
Hey,
Chicago
Justin.
guy for a long time. We just saw Meagles, Megan Tormey, who lived in Chicago. You have a good Meagles story for us?
You know, I mean, I have a Meagle story. I guess I don't know how good it is. I was invited over to her and her husband's house. I think maybe before she was a mother, and it was just like dinner and hanging out. And I was talking about how broad shouldered and like what a hulk of a man her husband is, because he played rugby. And I've always loved that guy. He's like super nice, but he's a guy you wouldn't run across because he could just crush you with one hand. Keoy, this is the best catch of Keoy's life. I'm just kidding, but it is a fantastic catch. Just completely full extension, accelerates to the last second when it needs it. But I guess the like weird moment that I had was he was like, "What? No, you're the broad guy of the two of us." It's like, "What? You're a hulk of a man." And so she lined us up, and sure enough, I was like a couple inches just wider than he was. I'm not as dense as he is.
He's got 4 inches on you. Height-wise.
Yeah. I was at that moment that I realized that I guess I'm a wide human being. I didn't know that, and I was probably 31 years old. So,
at least now you're self-aware about your width.
Yeah, thanks, Meagles. Thanks for that dinner. It was delicious. I did also get to go check out what seemed to be like a bicycle factory in their garage.
Yes, I did that too the one time I went over there. Yeah. I forget exactly when it was. It was one of our trips to Chicago, and then I've been to their new place in Dallas where they live as well. But yeah, Megan Tormey's husband, his name is Will. Everybody calls him Tennessee. He's like, "Hey, you want to check out like my bike studio?" And I'm like, "Sure." No idea what literally like 100 bicycles in the basement of their place in Chicago, and like it was just overwhelming. Like the guy is super passionate about it, and yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. I've walked into bike shops with fewer bikes and fewer bike parks. It's really disorienting.
Hey Weaver,
right, what's the call? What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Evan.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, what's the plan here? Like, what are y'all talking about now that we're in the third, in it, and y'all have been trailing by 2 to 3 the whole game. It's been close, obviously, but you got to get within striking distance. Do you recall? Like, are y'all trying to do anything differently on offense or defense?
I don't think we are. I think I've flexed over a couple times. I think we had Timmy flex over, like all flex to defense. Timmy will sub in on offense because he's the true handler on our team. But I think at this point, I'm just going to everybody like we're going real like true shots. I think at this point, you guys, well, the whole first half, you guys had always had a poacher trying to take away our deep looks. We found a lot of success in that through the regular season, and so we threw into poach. Like I threw into a triple team earlier in the game, and so we had gotten the jitters out, and I think at this point I'm just like going to my D guys. I'm just like, yo, I need you now. I need you to get a break. We had been getting breaks, we just hadn't been able to convert. And so I don't think that we're changing anything at all at this point. I think that we're just trying to minimize those little errors that kept happening. We had a handful of just like mental lapses throughout this game, and I think that was the major difference. And so at this point, I'm just like, still just trying to rile everybody up. Go get me a D. Who's going to get me a D? Calling people out individually. Are you going to give me a D? Like, all right, cool.
Give me a D.
I'm going to go sit down.
That way we can call a timeout.
Fun fact, This year and the year prior, every single time that a team got a D against us and called timeout to put their offense on and our defense on, we scored 90% of those points. I think we only didn't convert that point one time. So teams would waste their timeout to get their offense on, and then we would break their offense for a hold. It's a fun Aviator fact.
You know, in the years to come, that'll be one of the key stats that we create, you know, timeout conversion percentage. Because I've had tons of different coaches around the league talk about how huge that is, you know, for both ways, however it works out, for which team is going to convert after those timeouts, because they're so valuable.
Yeah, definitely.
They're extremely valuable. I mean, historically, you've just seen timeouts to be used as a way of just catching your breath, right? Or like get a plan together so that you don't have the disc on the sideline anymore. But instead, you can just bring in essentially a specialty team. A lot of times it's just your O-line, but it's you get to bring in the people who are most oftentimes qualified to make sure that there's a conversion. And you just don't see timeouts be used for almost anything else. It's super rare in the UDL to see a timeout used for like a speech, right? Like a let's go get them sort of conversation, because the conversions are so highly valued.
Yeah. Can I just say, catching pulls is the most terrifying thing in the game of Ultimate. I hate that. I love chasing after them.
I have a quick, very funny story about that. At least it's funny to me. One of our first tournaments this year with the Condors, I caught a pull, and out loud I said, I never catch pulls. I hope I don't drop it. And I catch it, center it, and Okita drops it. Because he was laughing about me like talking while I was catching the pull. So,
damn.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
It could have been someone else. Sorry, Okita, if it wasn't you.
Did you guys just see that out call? What the hell? Great grab, Kioi. But we got robbed. All this extra work for no reason.
Calvin. Get ready. Dance moves? Dance moves? No? He's just ready to score
at this
again.
Point,
huh?
I think he's locked into the scoreboard at this point. It's easier to dance when you're up. And maybe that's one of the issues, man. You need to dance while you're down. Keep that winner mentality. Look at that. Weigh in. What kind of call is that? Bro.
I don't know about weigh in, but he probably is in. I'd like to see it again.
Yeah, Luke, can you roll back on that real quick? Luke Johnson, if you haven't fallen asleep. Yeah, thanks.
My man. Love this. Live editing.
I guess we'll see it on the replay.
We'll see the score. Yeah.
We'll see the score and then we'll see the replay. So there's Jimenez.
Yeah.
I love meeting that guy at All-Star Weekend. I mean, he was just like, he's in his mid-20s. I think he was 24. But, like, he seemed like just this bright-eyed teenager. So excited. Really cool. And
that was really tough to see. I still think it was probably in.
Yeah. I have to give an apology to any referees that are watching for all the business that I gave them this season and every single one prior to this. Being a referee
Kioi is in the comments. Sorry, Lever. Kio's in the comments.
Oh, that's tough. It does look there for a second like he catches it with that right foot on the line. So, yeah, again, like I don't think it's a way-in situation, but it could have been a blown call.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, he's not like 12 yards in the end zone. But they have the toughest job, right? Like we need them for this sport to work, or at least for AUDL to work. And we're constantly complaining about these calls, and they just take it on the chin. And I know personally, after every game, I always go up and like shake hands, like, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I was blacked out. I don't remember what I said. Let me buy you a beer. I love you. I appreciate everything you do. I need you. Don't leave me, please. It's a really clingy conversation, but they've got it so tough to make these calls, make them accurately.
Goose, that's pretty much what you do after the game with the referees too, right?
I mean, I usually do thank them. I had some trouble doing that in a few games, as you know. But in the West, I feel like they've done a better job executing on calls. So I do thank them a lot of times. And then, if they get a lot of things wrong, I might afterwards, call a few friends who are willing to commit a little bit of identity theft and, get it even.
Shout out to Ian Ladner. That guy is the jelly in a PB&J sandwich. He fulfilled a lot of roles for the Aviators, and he doesn't get much credit for it. And I love him.
maybe a controversial statement, but I think that's the best part of the PB&J.
Dude, I'm right with you. The sweetest part, for sure. It's the glue.
Goose
keeps everything together.
Goose is definitely a peanut butter guy. There's no doubt about it.
I'm really trying to watch my figure during quarantine.
Goose is a crunchy peanut butter guy. Ugh. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Dude,
that was good offensive receiving.
Talk about
original Aviator.
Original, tried and true. Yeah, he's in all the Aviator record books. He is the hardest working player on our team by far. Him playing defense, he got switched over and he took it in stride. Some people would be upset by being moved to defense, and he thrived in that role. We could put him on whoever we wanted, and he would just accept the challenge and work hard, make them work hard, get the turnover, make them run, everything you want in a teammate. I love that guy, straight up. Big heart for Eric Listener. I hated him when I was on Black Tide and on Condors, and then now as a teammate, I love him. Tales all the time, right?
So you guys were down 12-8, and now it's 16-all, and Goose, I have to imagine the Growlers were feeling a little nervy at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting whenever you go back and try to analyze the LA defense. It is a little unusual. It's a little unorthodox type of defense, and I think one of the things they make you do that Weaver might have experienced the same thing with us is that they just kind of make you take a second look at things because you're like, oh, this person's open for a huck, and you see there's just someone playing free safety off in the back, and it's usually Jeff Silverman, and then a couple stall counts are gone, and you've got to look at something else. And now I'm behind this impenetrable wall of tall humans. Probably going to be a turnover. And it is.
Who just tossed you? Who just tossed you a drink, Weaver?
That was Colin Gall, 27 on the Aviators.
What a hero!
Shout out to him as well. I know. Ice cold Bud Light here. Sorry. Water. Ice cold water.
Just shoots.
It shoots. Yes.
Yeah, we're all drinking.
Rookie move.
That was huge.
That's
that
what
Travis back here.
Travis Dunn says in the comments, "No nerves at all. Game's in the bag."
All right, get out of here, Dunn.
I don't remember truly being nervous. I just remember the pressure. I don't know. Sometimes the pressure makes you sharp, and I felt like in most situations that's what was happening. Except for right here, right? It's just back-to-back turns for me. I was listening for the 5 count, and I never got it from the refs. It was just a stall. But the turn from right before this, we had discussed exactly how we're going to beat the double team, where we're going to position our offensive players, and people just didn't go to that spot, and so it was like a frustration upfield turn to make sure that I wasn't losing yardage in an attempt to not get stalled out. But here we just get stalled out again instead of me throwing it away, which is probably worse. I think it was a fast stall count.
Did the referees perhaps make them? No. So shout out to the ref.
To be totally honest, I did not remember that the Aviators came back and took the lead in this game. I knew you guys like got it close, but I mean, I kind of forgot like how much the Growlers were on the ropes. And I mean, yeah, there's plenty of time left, obviously, but you know, San Diego had dominated the regular season meetings against LA. Dominated, maybe a strong word, but won comfortably.
It's like a 60-yard dump. The super dump.
How about that dump, y'all?
Yeah,
that's what we drew it up. That's what we drew up. It was like, let's put Dom, our tallest
longest
handler.
dump you've ever thrown?
I was receiving it. I told him, let's put our tallest handler in there because the best chance of success, and I will hang back as far as necessary. You can throw a space throw back there if there's a defender anywhere around it, and I'll make it out. Like, that's just the way you have to do it. So we're a 60-yard dump, and what, 15 seconds later it's a goal? It's like, no problem. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, totally. There's a great adjustment, and then it takes away exactly what we're trying to eliminate, right? Like, now you have over-the-top space, and we have a zone upfield, so now we have to transition from the zone to man or person defense, and so that's always a challenge, right? Teams spend years learning how to figure that out.
Right, especially to find the right matchups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now you don't have your matchup set, too. That's a huge issue.
That point was huge for us, Evan, actually, because, you know, clearly we had some trouble earlier in the game with the double team, and that was the first time that it seemed like the communication we had within the team had developed itself into success, right? Like, we told people where to go, we were able to execute on that plan, having not practiced it, and then having done such a good job with it, we felt like we weren't going to be in a perilous situation again. And here comes Amari, Mr. Scott Radlauer.
That was the worst timing.
Yeah.
Oh. Having that turnover happen and getting broken immediately after, like, we were finally in the lead, and then that was kind of it was a high stall count throw, kind of a bummer, and then Hawk, I don't think he knew where Amari was at all, collides with him. Those two don't like each other. Yeah, that was like the worst possible timing for that break to happen for us.
You could see Scott, like, first of all, props to him for the bookends. You could see, like, he knew he was just going to catch that hammer. You don't see people look that calm and then they blow it. I don't know if you were watching his body language right before he caught that. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's like a tough block to get. So, you know, I'm not discounting how hard of an angle it is to try to make a play on a hammer like that. But Scott had read it perfectly and was just ready to go straight up for it and grab it.
Goose, you may have these guys in your mind, but for me, when that throw went up and it's floaty, I was a little shook that Hawk didn't get it, because you just have those players that you're so used to when a 50-50 ball goes up, it's really an 80-20 for your guy, or a 90-10.
Yeah.
And Hawk became one of those guys over the course of the season. McDougal's one of those guys. Bacon, for me, is one of those guys. Silverman's one of those guys. So having him not be able to come down with that was a really gnarly
A little
experience.
bit crafty with some of these finds.
Oh, shook.
Yeah, you definitely. Every team has those players, and like I said, you just don't see somebody that relaxed unless they're completely zoned in to how they're going to make that play. So
Yeah.
I as soon as I saw him just standing there that calm, I was like, well, Scott's coming down with this. I don't care how high this guy can jump.
We've studied these two teams as the best two
Yeah,
teams in
def.
the West. San Diego went 10-2, LA 9-3. LA actually had a better point differential for the season. The Aviators
Point differential, yeah. Evan, we dominated that season, except for against the Growlers.
And with all that said, I look at
Yeah, San Diego had much closer games with San Jose and Seattle than y'all did, for the most part.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the Growlers have problems with Seattle. Maybe matchups, but they always like end up in overtime somehow, and then we'll play the Cascades and just throttle them. Like, maybe
Hey,
they have a
Goose,
mental block
was
against
that, you know, like you'd played the last couple days, that warning track power on that throw?
You know, if I'm totally honest, I never even look at where the end zone is whenever I'm throwing hucks. I just try to analyze where it can be caught and where a defender can't make a play on it. And I usually am immediately filled with regret because of it. So, like, that's a perfect example. I throw tons of morning track power hucks just because I'm like, that spot will work. And then I'll realize maybe you should have taken into account where the end zone is. But, you know, we'll take 50 yards.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, you got to worry about the stats. You know, just ask Pavel how important the stats are, especially the individual ones.
Yeah, I don't think about those too much.
Dude, Danny getting beat up upfield by my boy Marcel. That was all this time.
Sometimes you gotta teach him, you know.
I feel ya.
Will Griffin,
That's why I'm still around.
Growlers owner. Will Griffin, Growlers owner, asks in the comments if I'm sitting on a lazy boy. We'll get back to that in a second. Will, this, I don't know if this is a lazy boy.
Sean is trying to will us to victory right now. Yeah. His earlier
Hey, Luke,
goal,
can you roll back on that so we can see that live again? Luke, can you go back 20, 30 seconds?
Nice.
I just want to see this again live. I wasn't paying close
6'6",
enough attention. I was
6'6" mark. Gets a block on it and then takes off. Has no idea
Look at Nate.
that he can make that play.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Look, you can see him as he's giving him the business too. Bids everywhere. Oh man.
Oh yeah, we were ready. That's 2 bids in a row.
Yeah.
And
Nate
then,
Bridges.
you know, we end up getting one. Boom.
Beautiful bid, avoiding contact.
I mean, sequences like this are why I love calling the AUDL. Just because the twists and the turns and an individual point and the snap of a finger, like, as a play-by-play announcer, those are the fun challenges to call. And, you know, 19-18 championship weekend on the line, late in the third quarter, like, the crowd's going nuts. This is awesome.
Yeah. You bring a lot of energy with your calls too, that I love. Oh man. That play brought to you by a terrible dump cut. Oh god. We don't have to show that one over and over.
That is just clever positioning from Bridges. You saw that Weaver was in front of him, so Bridges wrapped
That's a heck of a block.
and laid out immediately after
Yeah.
that just
I really appreciate him not backpacking me.
very, very quick reaction time.
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job getting out of his way.
San Diego's offense
Yeah.
for the most part steady.
This is where it starts to get tense.
Retakes the field with 1:45 remaining in this third.
Goose, you've
Everybody's
been in this
fighting.
spot many times. Did you sense any of your teammates who had not been to a championship weekend before, like kind of feeling the sense of the moment in a tight game with what was at stake?
It's tough to say. I mean, I think the previous game that we had played LA, even at home, we had lost. And we had lost in like the last 1 minute off of kind of a bizarre hand block scenario. And like the weird things happen with our team all the time. Like just how in the world did we make that decision sort of questions. And so, I had no idea really where my teammates' mindset was. I just knew that if we'd proven anything this year, it had been that we knew how to win games, which is just such a strange and ethereal quality. And then you see stuff like that, right? Like that's like one of those head scratcher decisions. Just like not necessary. And then you have Mr. Dunn saving us.
That was a heck
Yeah,
of a
that's a tough.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a replay of that. But if you look at like where his plant foot is and where he actually made contact with the disc, it's an absurd span of space.
Yeah, you can really tell in the game right now, everybody's jacked up. Everybody's like that. Just the tension is at 11 right now. Defenders are running out to help for no reason other than to just try to make a difference.
And this is a very
We're just
exciting
winding
30
down the clock.
seconds to finish the quarter here.
Yeah. We were at like, what, a minute and a half, minute 45 seconds. And we just decided, like we had all year, like we're going to run the clock all the way down so that there's no opportunity for the other team to go the other way if we score too early.
Yeah. Yeah, this is huge holding the disc for you guys. And scoring.
I tried to toe that.
Questionable decision. What the hell is that, Goose?
That? No, that was all day.
Oh,
All
man.
day. All you got to do is just like send it on a platter, make sure it's got a little bit of paste to it. It's going to get caught. There's no way that Theodore was going to run it down in time.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where just a series of mistakes, series of unfortunate events for us.
Where does he take off from? I mean, it was yards from where he took off that Travis got the disc there.
Yeah.
And Goose, I think I mentioned it during the broadcast, but that kind of high release backhand was really similar to the one you had against Jacksonville at the buzzer to Jacob Mao.
Yeah. It's it's a useful throw, right? Like there aren't a lot of situations when you will use a throw like that. But if you got to get it, I mean, an equivalent would have been a hammer, right? But instead of making it where it's my belief that a hammer is way more challenging to catch under pressure than a right side up disc. And so if I can get it there in an equivalent time period or just ahead of a defender, right side up, I'm going to elect to do that instead. So as long as it gets over everyone that's in the middle and then comes down before it's going to go out the back, then we're good.
Talk about the experience that he has gained in the AUDL, shining in that moment, how quickly he released it.
That would have been a sick team devo for us if it had worked.
Who didn't have any challengers.
I think Mingo actually pulls up there too to avoid the dangerous play. So credit to him, even with the playoffs on the line.
Right. Yeah, there's some players who would just leave their feet and collide, which would be a shame.
Yeah, total shame. Super triggering. I have such a low tolerance for that now. It's really cool to see how the game has progressed. Seeing some highlight reels come out from even like 5 years ago, and how many backpacking bids there are, bids into ankles and stuff, and how it doesn't really. I mean, it still happens obviously, but a lot of highlight reels now don't really.
Last time the Aviators touched the disc, they were down by 1.
Is that a strip? Yeah.
Next time they touch it, they might be down by 3. Tyler Bacon called for
Great
the
pressure.
pass interference
Yeah,
foul
Sammy P.
on Michael Tran.
Sammy P had a great year for us. Oh, Evan, do you remember his massive layout bid off the pole against Madison in the semis?
Oh, yeah.
2 years ago? Broke his wrist.
This is their biggest game.
That was a turning point for us in that game. Losing him, he's such a valuable defender, and he fired us up so fierce. If we could just get that first quarter.
I haven't watched that LA Madison game in a while, but it's coming up on FS2 in 3, 4, 5 weeks from now. So I'll be taking a much closer look at it again soon. And you guys didn't fall behind 4-0 in the opening minutes. You were right there.
Oh yeah, just doctor the footage. Just start the game second quarter. That's I could talk to you for days about that. We're now suffering through this heartbreak again, live.
Credit to you guys. You made it an interesting game in the second half, which, in front of a great crowd on that Saturday night.
Important offensive possession here.
Yeah, that crowd was fierce. I think we actually won that game if you only counted second, third, and fourth quarters. But I could have made that up. Bias,
Tumbling again downfield. That throw hauled in by the bidding Brown. And that throw
Oh,
out of his hands.
was that touched by somebody?
But it's tipped.
It might have gotten blocked.
Yeah.
I mean,
On the
out,
release.
tough to tell. Definitely didn't look right.
I think that's a foul. If we're playing a USAU, I think that's a foul on the throw. Like I think somebody touched it on his backswing, but
Yeah.
again, there clearly
Those are
Danny
ones-
was like sketched out by the oncoming defender.
Big plays during this run from
Yeah.
both teams.
Those are ones you hope for an integrity call if it's pretty clear.
This deep shot
Yeah.
right on the money. Hume, the
Yeah,
difference
it's asking a lot
maker again.
for spirit. With a rivalry team, you hope to see it, but it doesn't always work out.
Trying to get to its first ever
Look at you guys cramming her up the cram hole. God.
up by 4 in
You
the
can't call it the cram hole if you don't.
What a game
Yeah.
from Matt Hume.
It's true. Get your fans out of here. I don't want to see that.
LA
Ugh.
ringing from the Growlers crowd.
Oh,
I would
That
for the
might have
San
been-
Diego crowd this night.
clean. That's a great grab. Is it hit like way after?
And that
Oh, no, it collided. Okay, yeah. He just throws it into the back.
Luke,
of
you want to
Sam
scroll back 10 seconds, 20 seconds?
That might have been did that contact Sam in his back or something?
Yeah, it hit Sam's shoulder as he's like guarding the dunk.
We
Jogging
went back
upfield,
so we
yeah.
can see this replay
trying
again.
to get to its first ever
No integrity
championship
necessary,
win.
Sam Fontaine.
Up by 4 in the fourth.
Sorry, Weaver. Now you got to watch the crowd again, I think.
What a game
Ugh.
from Hume.
This is a nightmare. Oh, listen to BLA again.
Chains of Beat LA ringing from the Growlers crowd.
Like the Growlers mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rah, 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 rah.
What a block by Sam. Heads up block there, buddy.
Just even a blind squirrel's right occasionally. What the hell? He's smirking.
San Diego
Son of a gun.
missing the mark.
Oh, and then he throws the goal too. He's got to be on cloud 9 at this point. Oh,
Telling you, he anchored our backfield for our D line. He was
Take a look
He was
at
hugely
this
impactful
from
for us.
Calvin Brown.
Former
he's great.
Charlotte Express star.
that's right.
Good year for Tide.
From that angle.
Coaching the Burning Skirts right now.
Raise the
He's
back of
he's doing great
Silverman.
things for the Ultimate community, like highlight reels like that.
Great job by our catching that. Wonder
Comes to you,
You
Sam.
think he teaches that? You think he teaches that to the skirts?
At the right time.
I wish it hit him in the head so then I could say use your head, but
Aviators
Shoulder
come
blade.
back from 4 down once tonight. McDougal rips this one.
Oh,
See,
KJ.
Gorgeous throw. KJ Koo.
KJ's gonna come down with that every time.
yeah, dude.
That snaps a
He's
4
another super talented stud. He doesn't always get featured in Ultra World articles. He actually finally got an accolade, I think, defensive player of the year or backup for the college season. But he is an absolute stud. He's so good that he plays with a bucket hat, adds air resistance and visibility drop off to his game, and he still dominates. It's really fun to watch.
Some points tonight.
Oh, we got some breathing room right now. Our O-line does not look quite as nervous.
That end of quarter possession was really the MVP moment of this game, that whole minute segment.
And that Travis Dunn block to lead to that end of quarter possession.
Right. Yeah. So to be fair, we had to get the block first.
I don't know if you guys realize, Travis joined me last night on the AUDL Instagram for Live with Lep. And probably not a huge surprise, but that guy has one heck of a beard going right now. It was a sight to see.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I actually shaved up a little bit to look somewhat presentable for this. Not that my camera quality is any good.
It's a casual evening. Be comfortable. That's how I feel.
I know, yeah. Should throw on a robe.
Not that comfortable.
Oh. I don't know, though. If you saw my robe, it's nice.
Is this when Tran makes a huge grab for us?
I believe so.
I believe so. I throw this with slightly poor shape.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's one of those that, you hate to see as the opponent. Like, there's no way he caught that. How could he have caught that? What?
So, I mean, Weaver, 4 or 5 minutes of game time ago, you guys were tied, up by 1. And now, I mean, especially after he makes that catch, I imagine it's hard to feel anywhere close to as up as you were a little while ago.
Oh, yeah. It starts creeping in your mind, for sure. And you can tell by the way people are playing. Like, everybody's kind of doing a little bit more than they would. Trying to help out in any way they can. Maybe working a little harder than they should. And it's really hard, especially as a leader on the team, to just be like, all right, guys, we still are this. We don't need to take crazy shots throwing into double coverage, right? Like, let's keep playing our game. And then hopefully we can get a break here or there, right? Like, hopefully Tran doesn't make that catch. That's an unsustainable catch. But time is running out. And so here we are. We're taking a shot like this that's maybe ill-advised, right? Trevor Purdy, 6'6". It's tough, but that decision right there is specifically because we're down by 4 with 8 minutes left. And it doesn't necessarily have to happen, but it's understandable why it did.
Yeah, there's definitely a point in a game, and you saw the same thing happen to us in the next game that we play against Dallas, where if you're down by 4 in the fourth quarter, there's a certain time period in that fourth quarter where if you don't score quickly, you are going to lose the game. So your fundamentals have to kind of break down. I don't really know. It'd be nice to know what that time period is, right? Like, is it at 8 minutes? Is it at 6? I'm not sure that that's been broken down well enough. And obviously it's kind of a floating figure because your opponent's O-line can become very, very good at just retaining the disc and eating clock. So this is a tough situation. You have to take some shots like that. It's just a question of how late in the game do you have to wait to take kind of desperation, fast-scoring attempts.
Totally. Yeah. You have to take fast-scoring shots, but they also have to be good ones, right?
Right.
I think of those, the moment got to each of those players. And we were throwing deep with Purdy hanging out deep. That's a brutal position to be in. And it really doesn't take all that long to work the unders upfield. That's a point you bring up. Like 8 minutes feels like a long time, right? We can do 3 of our trick plays where we pull on our own end zone line, set up that double team, and we get a hand block right off the bat. Boom, we can score quick. So these games can change really fast. But
Hey,
Yeah,
our esteemed producer Luke Johnson asks in the comments, Goose, I'll start with you. Should there be a shot clock in the AUDL?
Maybe that's an eventual thing to throw in. I don't think it's necessary yet. I'm not sure teams are good enough at running the clock down. Maybe in the last couple of years they've started to show that ability. A lot of teams, at least in my experience, if they shifted their strategy to just possession, things kind of went wrong for them, right? Like their structure isn't built around that sort of style of play, and so cutters aren't going to where the throwers are expecting them to go, and handlers aren't quite doing what handlers have practiced doing, and so I don't think that it would have affected the game in any sort of way in the last few years, but maybe we're starting to get to a point, or we'll get to a point in the next couple of years or so where that'll actually change how a team operates. I don't know. You've watched a lot of these games as well, Evan. Do you think that teams do a good job of just holding onto the disc and running down the clock?
I mean, I mostly agree with you. I think we're not necessarily there yet. I think it would be a interesting innovation to perhaps feature in an all-star game, something like that. If you did a 60-second shot clock. But I mean, just the technology that you need to do it fairly. You would need something in each end zone, pretty massive or sizable. But I mean, there definitely are. There's the occasional moment when a team will just be killing the clock, dumping it back, and we saw a 60-yard dump earlier in this game. I mean, teams can bleed time off the clock if they choose. The reality is, that's a nice play by, is that McDougal?
Yeah, that's a break. I mean, that's a breakdown. We were doing a great job of what I was talking about earlier until we weren't.
Yeah. Yeah,
Weaver, do you have thoughts on the potential for a shot clock?
I don't like the idea at all, because there's a certain skill aspect to burning the clock. Like right there, that clearly they're trying to waste time, and because of that, we were able to create a block out of it, right? I don't like it personally.
I definitely agree with the speed of San Diego's offense.
Yeah, I don't have anything really to add to that conversation. We got a block because there was no shot clock.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But at the same time, what have we seen as far as clock peel off in this last shot? Was it a minute and a half? Was it longer than that? That hurts you so much that block at some point becomes irrelevant.
And then there's the dynamic, the Madison Radicals are good at slowing their opponent down, but it's not the most entertaining style of Ultimate to watch. So if we implemented a 60 or 90-second shot clock, it could incentivize teams to muck it up and detract from the entertainment value of the game. And I'm not sure that would be the wise move for the long term.
If that happened, I'd like to see. I'd like to see other rules change. Like maybe the stall count goes back to 10, or maybe even just up to 8, and that way. I mean, you already see turnovers when people believe that there shouldn't be any turnovers on a field this big. In large part because because the field is this big, you have defenders moving at higher rates of speed than you are accustomed to. So there's some adjusting you have to have. But the reality is it's a little unnerving not knowing what exactly the stall count is, right? Like you're so accustomed to maybe a club style of play where you've basically got this ticking audible clock, whereas with the referees, a
Nice
lot of
throw,
times
Weaver.
they count. That was a great throw. They count with 1 second, but sometimes if you go back and watch it, maybe the stall count was 5 seconds long, and that's a tough sort of style to play in consistently through a game, is like 5-second stalls.
Yeah,
There has been
now,
some. Go ahead.
I see the entertainment value now. Like as a fan, I don't want to watch people throw dump. But as a player, I don't like it as a player, but I see the value of it, and it would definitely change the dynamic of the game. Having a giant shot clock like 90 seconds, most points are over well within that time, so it may not come into play all that often. It depends on what they set it at. But I see the entertainment value of it for sure.
Any flashbacks seeing that graphic, Goose?
I was somewhere else. I didn't even see the graphic that was in front of me. What was it?
Good. Don't worry about it. How would you feel if it was? How would you feel if the AUDL was said we're going to change? No shot clock. We're going to change the stall count. Now 5-second stall count for everybody instead of 7.
Ooh, that's tough. I think the AUDL is such a big field that, I mean, God, I think that would be tough for cutters, because already there's so many turnovers generated by cutters having to see that the thrower caught the throw, and then they're initiating their cut. I think it would give an advantage to defense, obviously, which would be nice. I'd be interested in testing it out for sure, but my instinct right now is not to drop it, because already there are times when it feels like 7 seconds is 5.
Sometimes because it is.
Yeah. Try to thread that needle.
I've had people in the league ask me what I thought about a 5-second stall count, and I've said that's too fast, I think. But I mean, I've been told that some teams use that during practice to get the disc moving quickly.
You have to.
It makes sense.
I mean, anything.
Yeah.
Anything you want to be good at, you kind of have to do like an overspeed version of it at some point once you become proficient enough to like continue to make something more challenging. I think what ends up happening though in a 5-second stall count is that you get a second to look for a deep ball, which is one of the appeals of the AUDL, is how many hucks there are and how many blocks happen in that avenue of play. And then you immediately have to start looking to other options, whether it's an under, a dump, or a swing. And I think that will slow the game down instead of speed it up in some ways. In other ways, you might just see more Goaltimate style, small throws. But that's going to look – I just don't know if there's a ton of appeal to that for a very, very large field.
Yeah, I agree with that.
38 seconds come off the clock.
What was the question? What was it? Oh, do you think you have to score a goal? That was put out there. I don't think that you should have to score to finish a game. Like in any other sport, if you're ahead and time runs out, game's over. I think that we've got that right.
Weaver, I totally agree with you from the AUDL. One of the hills that I will forever die on is the USAU, soft cap, hard cap thing. When the hard cap would come on and you're down by 2 and you score to get within 1 and the game's over. Like, I despise that as much as any rule in all of Ultimate. I despise. But as far as the AUDL, it's a timed game. We're not playing to a certain number, so I totally agree with you when it comes to the AUDL.
Yeah. Dude, I've been doing a bad job of merchandising. Let's go. Come on. Get this up there. Yeah.
Why do you wear number 18?
To match my sister. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but her Callahan video just came out. Caitlin Weaver
Saw
from Burning
that.
Skirts. Yeah, I used to be 83, and then she went to UCSB. Her number was 18. In high school, I actually pulled some strings and had a veteran change her number so Caitlin could stay 18. And then, yeah, I matched my number to hers. So that's why.
She is the
Kinda
most
fun.
talented weaver, so it makes sense.
By far, yeah, no question. I will not argue that for a second. And she's just starting out, right? Like she's in her 4th year of Ultimate, and she's already like doing really well. She hasn't played a single season. Well, I guess she hasn't played a full club season, but she's got a bright future. Just like these other 18-year-olds. Dude, that BLA chant just hurts. As a Dodger fan, you hear it from the Giants fans. It's tough. And to have to deal with it on my
I'll tell
own.
you, as a Boston native, who grew up, beat LA chants were very common in the 80s with the Celtics and the Lakers. I love it. I love that beat LA chant. Brings back good memories.
Well, boo to you, sir. Oh,
My typical
This is so
tradition in San
painful.
Diego is enjoy the game and then go have a beat LA IPA after the game.
rude. Yeah, Deschutes. Man, this is when you start just like hugging your teammates on the sideline. What a battle. Lost to a good team. We could have beat them. Had a couple key mistakes at very key moments. But yeah, this was a very, very winnable game. And I think that really added to my depression afterwards. I felt like we kind of lost this game more than you guys took it away from us. Despite there was some very good plays from you guys, but there was a lot of like tough decisions made on our side. And man, this was
It was
a hell of a
certainly
game.
winnable.
Yeah.
Taking a commercial break with 8 seconds left is never the ideal thing to do. Goose,
Yeah.
what in your mind were the 2 or 3 biggest plays in this game that got you the win?
I mean, we already talked about it once. I think that end of quarter situation really made a huge difference, right? Because we were receiving right after that. So as far as a momentum shift is concerned, it's like, okay, well, we get a block, we call a timeout, we burn a ton of clock. And I can't remember, I already forgot whether or not during that overall clock burn, if that was the point in which Dunn got that block. I think it might have been. But either way, like burning the clock down from a minute 45 down to 0 and then scoring, basically converting on a break and then receiving with the disc again, that makes the whole game feel very, very different than had we been scored on or had we not scored. That created a pretty significant goal.
Yeah, totally agree.
The San Diego Growlers are the champions of the West Division for the first
Oh man. I'm glad that you two are here for me right now, because this is tough. Sam hugged me right there, and that was cool to get, but also, man, tough.
Been there. It's tough every single time.
Who hasn't? Yeah.
So, Goose, this was your first year with the team, but Kevin Stewart had been the coach since the beginning and got the Gatorade bat there. I mean, for the guys who had been part of this team for so many years building up, I mean, you were just the new guy on the block, but like, how did you appreciate it in their lens?
I mean, it was very clear that they had been working on team strategies and chemistry, and just like building year after year. I mean, you could just watch Tran and Okita work together, and that sort of chemistry doesn't happen off of even just one season. They're able to work pretty seamlessly off of one another. You know, having a zone that can disrupt almost any offense that we face on a field that size, like that takes a ton of work. It takes a lot of strategizing. And certainly I give a lot of props to Kevin Stewart for like holding the team accountable to like offensive discipline and then energy and effort on defense. It's really that simple for him. You know, if anything, I was throwing in wrinkles to how the offense was organized and what our looks were. I wasn't like trying to steer the ship too much. This year we were trying to build on some of those concepts.
Wasn't spectacular on offense, but he was just very steady, and that's kind of the way he's been all year long.
Right, you know that wherever the team needs him, that is going to.
Weaver, I mean, do you want to give us a tour? Do you want to give us a tour of all those discs that are behind you?
Yeah, Pavel. I really don't, but Pavel asked for it. Yeah, so I mean the most important one is the gold one in the center. I mean, that was from my first tournament with Black Tide. That was kind of our thing, was to
going full screen Weaver.
Yeah, geez, this is tough. Don't look at my bedroom. Right above it, Dogfish. I got to play in the MLU. That was super sick. Above that, Kaimana 25. Lost in the championship game to, I think it was, who cares? They beat me. The ones up high are my two banquet discs from Black Tide. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, that one, Intimidation Factor. The left is most layouts, so that's cool. Kind of just sums up my Frisbee personality. A lot of these discs are from. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Now I have a question about the artwork. You know, the Weaver exclamation point painting over your head.
Yeah, that's one of those like crayons where you put all the rainbow of crayons and then you melt it with a hairdryer. And the Weaver was done just by painter's tape. Just peeling the painter's tape off and then painting that in black. And then actually the picture below, way cool. This is a gift from my much more talented sister. Back when I played on Dogfish, she wore my jersey. She came to watch me play. She gave this to me as a gift, and it's one of my most prized possessions. Sappy weave, but yeah. So maybe I'll have to have her sign it someday.
Thursday night rewind, AUDL cribs. Either way.
Yeah, I'm an open book, baby. Come on down anytime.
Goose, your takeaways from this game, and what do you remember about kind of thinking, all right, now we got another chance to go to champion. I mean, for you, another chance to go play a championship weekend against a team that obviously has gotten under your skin from time to time.
Yeah, I was super pumped for the team, right? It was the best season that the Growlers had. I think it was maybe our first winning record. I think they may have even said that. I'm not 100% sure, but it was certainly the first time we got. It was the best record? Okay, that's better. Certainly the best record. But we had a great season, and honestly, like I was saying before, even though we weren't winning games by considerable margins, we just had this like knack for winning games when it mattered. And so I was really excited to see if we could carry that into championship weekend to a team that undoubtedly was more talented than us. And I think everyone was super excited about the opportunity. I had some concerns when I heard someone in the huddle say, we're happy to be here. I was like, oh, that's not good. You don't want to hear that. But as a team, if we're able to build on the success from last year, and instead of having an attitude of we're happy to make it to championship weekend, and instead be like we're excited to try to capture this title, like we're going for it all. I think it does take building year over year to have an attitude like that, and I was hoping that this year would be that year, and it still might be if we get an opportunity to play.
Weaver, I mean, you guys got that championship weekend hurdle cleared. 2018 fell a little bit short in 2019, and I mean, you said that this one hurt you for a couple of weeks afterwards.
Yeah, I have to go back a couple years actually. Eli Friedman was on the Aviators, and I love that guy to death. We were having our preseason meetings, and we talked about goals for the season, and a lot of people's goals were to take the next step. Aviators had this every season we get one game further, and he was just F that, why not make Final Four? Why not skip? Why are we setting our goal for one step better? And that dude is a silent leader, which is super funny. Yeah, when you get a group of guys together that have been playing and working hard, and the team chemistry is just there, and the camaraderie is there, you have something special. And really, you can achieve anything, right, if the cards fall your way. And so that's kind of been my experience with the Aviators. I've never felt outmatched. I've never felt going into a game that we win it just because of all the work that everybody puts in, the complete trust I have in my teammates. We don't have. It's the story of LA. I mean, I guess now people know my name and McDougal's name and Bacon's name and Danny's name, and Hawk's name. I guess we have a lot of names now, but before that, nobody knew the players of LA. Nobody knew Eric Lisner's name. Nobody knew Alex Drum's name. And so it was just a bunch of no names who were working as hard as we could for a collective goal. And honestly, I always felt like we could be at the top. And yeah, anything less was always tough for me to come to terms with. I don't even remember what your question was.
Yeah, me neither. One of the cool things about these Thursday night rewinds presented by Deschutes, for the last couple of hours, I mean, you almost forget the situation in the world and what all is going on and how it's bigger than any of us and why we're doing this on Thursday nights and showing old games on Saturdays instead of playing new ones. You guys are both very fortunate that you have great ultimate players living under the same roof as you. That's a situation that I certainly don't have. Not that I'm complaining about my roommates, my wife and my year-old daughter. But what has that been like for you? And I mean, how often are you touching a disc every day as you normally would in these types of situations, aside from group practices? Goose?
I don't know about throwing as much. I've definitely been training just as much as I normally would. I don't know how much of a heads up we're going to get about when the season's going to start and when I guess the green light comes on. And so you can't go from 0 to one of these full-length games or multiple full-length games and expect to make it an enjoyable experience for yourself or not get injured. So I'm really trying to keep my training as to a higher level of as I can. Kayla, unfortunately, probably did get COVID-19, and she was down for a couple of weeks and has been having to gradually build herself back up from what was, incredibly good shape whenever she was trying out for making Team USA not long ago. And so there was a period of time where we weren't throwing, and even just going up the stairs was actually exhausting for her. So I haven't been able to touch the disc a lot, but in the last 2 days, I've gotten to throw both of the last 2 days. So maybe we're on a new streak.
If you don't mind me asking, I mean, I haven't publicly or read anything too much about, high-level Ultimate players getting the virus. How did it manifest itself, and is she all the way back right now?
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, it's like testing has been such a problem in the United States that she hasn't been tested and I haven't been tested. So, I can't confidently say that she had it, but she did fall ill after being on a flight to San Francisco right before everything kind of really went bananas. And she was sick for a couple of weeks, really fatigued, had flu-like symptoms. I don't know if she ever had a fever or not. I don't think we ever took her temperature. And I remained asymptomatic the whole time. I wear like a little recovery device in the morning, and it was low for a week, and I felt general fatigue, and that was about it. So I was concerned that if I went out and did anything in public, I could be one of those crazy contagious people. But what seems to be the case with her, because she actually did have symptoms, the virus tends to affect people's lungs pretty significantly, whether it's scarring or, we're getting new information all the time, but it seemed to affect her lungs pretty significantly, even though she's a healthy athlete with huge aerobic capacity. And so, if you see her get tired walking up the stairs, even a week after other symptoms have stopped, something has changed. And it is a little bit scary. Thankfully, we've been able to dose her with low intensity cardio, just kind of one step at a time. And she's been building herself back up, because for a little while there, after 10 minutes of exercise, she would start to feel really badly, and the next day feel sick. And then, she could do 20 minutes and then 30 minutes. And I think this week she's finally gotten to where she can do 40 minutes. So her lungs are recovering. But yeah, I'm really curious to see if and hear whether or not other athletes have experienced this so far, and if the recovery road has looked similar to hers.
Yeah, scary stuff. Weaver, what's it like in your house?
Dude, that was gnarly. Whew. Goose, hang in there. Kayla, hang in there. My house has been totally different. Now, I live with 4 other people. We're all very active. All of us played for Black Tide. My fitness level pre-quarantine was elite, right? Like, I never stopped working out. I had the fire from losing this game. And now I'm having problems. So I'm not going to lie, like, just being honest with everybody, it's really been difficult. Bacon and Colin have been doing a great job of finding workouts, going for runs, doing yoga. My housemates do yoga at lunch. It's been really cool. All the local yoga studios have Instagram live sessions. But for me, like, I lost it there for a minute. And honestly, before I got the email from you, I didn't even get it. Like, I got a week late, because I'm like not checking my email. I'm being lazy at work. All these things are falling apart, if you will. Like, my video game is strong, but everything else is kind of falling off the map. Yeah, and so it's a very curious place to be. But like, watching this video, talking to you guys, I'm excited. I've got the itch again, and that's something that I kind of was dealing with because all last season I had talked about retiring, and last season being my swan song. My knees were hurting every day. Just sitting here, like in this session, my knees would be hurting, and that's such a terrible way to live. And, now with all these, without working out all the time, I'm feeling great. And, I have free time, and it's so easy to not work out, and like eat pizza. And so it's been really challenging for me. And my teammates have all been really good about their workouts. It's been super annoying because I'm supposed to be a leader. I'm supposed to be out there doing great things for the team, showing everybody how strong I am. And that's been a personal challenge, and I've had to escape. I've gone camping multiple times and just out in the wilderness, and that's been like the greatest relief. And then, from there you can go sprinting up mountains and do whatever you feel like. But it's really been tough for me. Like, I'm thriving. I'm having a great time, but also from my fitness perspective and like overall health, probably not great.
I'm just curious. Are you going to campgrounds that are open? Because I grew up going camping, and I work every weekend as a broadcaster, whether it's ultimate season or football season or basketball season. So I really kind of want to start going camping again. And my wife and I camped out in our backyard one night just to see if we had the equipment. But the campgrounds in North Carolina are closed. So I'm like, should we just go find a random spot and illegally go to a campground? So what's the deal with you?
Right. Yeah. So all of the state campgrounds are closed. Anything that offers services or facilities, you're not going to be able to get into. But BLM land, that's public land in America, everybody's welcome to go. It's just basically meadows, right, or mountains and rivers, what have you. It's all fair game right now because there's so much space. I think the logic is you can go out there and see maybe 3 other cars for an entire weekend. And so out there, you're, quote unquote safe. And so that's what we've been doing is literally going out into the middle of nowhere. And it's pseudo terrifying because I've seen the hills have eyes, right? And at night you hear noises and literally anybody could come out of the cuts. If a pack of wolves came out here, we'd just be toast, and nobody would ever know. But yeah, that's, you start to hear growls, right? Like rah, rah, rah.
Or purrs.
Yeah. Oh, growler. Yeah, purrs. Meow. Meow, meow, meow. But yeah, highly recommend it. It's so great to just not browse the news, to not go on social media, to not do any of the things that here we are promoting. It's tough to be in this position and say don't look at it, but to give your mind just that break of just for 2 days I'm not checking my phone, and it's really quite a solid move for your mental state. So if anybody's having problems out there, I highly recommend, even if you can't get out to public land, just take a day for yourself, read a book, do a puzzle. Don't check your phone, don't check the internet at all. Don't check the internet. That's great. Yeah, I think that's been one thing that for me has worked out well personally.
Fair enough. Well, if I send you an email and I don't get a response for a week, I'm just gonna think you've got eaten by a growler or something. So, while you were out camping.
Already happened once on film. Shirt too. Yeah, we both
best
been there.
in the
It's
West. Fine. Wow,
That's a nice shirt.
I
love this shirt.
I just have one of these Game Point Performance jerseys on underneath. It's
look at that. Fancy. Oh my! You've warmed the cockles of my heart, Evan.
I was gonna say with Weaver's struggles and I don't know his knees. I don't know if you can make his knees feel better. Is there anything but GPP that can make Weaver's knees feel better?
Yeah, man, for sure. Give me a holler. Even just our warm up will probably take the pressure off your knees.
Something's got to.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. I don't know. We had a question in the chat during the show about the FS2 broadcasts and the ratings that officially, unofficially were published by Ulti World today by Charlie Eisenhood's source. And I thought the number was pretty interesting. I mean, it was officially 20,000. For the record, I think all sports ratings are just kind of absurd. I work in sports. I'm on TV, and I don't understand it. 20,000. It reminds me of the Mitch Hedberg's, riff about like, oh, I thought it would be 20,006, but it's like it seems relatively meaningless to me. But the part that isn't meaningless is the number relative to all the other numbers. And considering that the exact same time slot a week later had a Texas Southern Cal football game, maybe that great championship game that had, I think, 9,000 viewers. And this slot the week before that, the first AUDL weekend, had 20,000 viewers. That to me was like, oh, now like 11,000 viewers is a rounding error, not even for like big time television. That's an inconsequential difference. But like for a station like FS2 that is putting the AUDL in this time slot to see, hey, what will it do? And, like if the AUDL goes on FS1, because maybe at some point they want to give it a try on the higher profile network, it's the difference of being maybe 75,000 or 50,000 instead of 9,000 or 20,000. So like it's hard to make any strong conclusions about what those numbers mean, other than that it's encouraging that a replay of a Frisbee game in the same time slot drew more than twice as many people. And it's hard to say like drew twice as many people, because it's not like folks were looking through their TV guide necessarily and, planned to watch it in advance. It just happened to be they stumbled across it most likely and, thought it was cool and novel and interesting. I mean, people ask me all the time, like, about the cornhole that I broadcast. And I mean, what that does crazy ratings on ESPN, and that's why they keep putting it up there. I mean, I get like text messages, I feel like once a week, like, here you're doing cornhole right now. And I'm like, okay, that was a year and a half ago, but it's cool that they're showing it again, because people stumble across it and watch it and stick around, and has good retention, and like there's something identifiable to it. So, I don't understand the whole rating things, but I was positively encouraged by that news that Charlie broke on Ultiworld yesterday, today, whenever it was. And we'll see what happens going forward. But I mean, it's like funny. Like I obviously seen all these games before. I make a point of watching it, not necessarily to boost the ratings, because I don't think me tuning my TV to FS2 impacts the ratings at all, which is like part of the absurdity of the whole ratings thing. Like, especially when there's people are watching in sports bars, like there's no way to count that, or so to say definitively in a news report that 80 million people watched, like no, that's not good journalism, because that's just it's a generalization. Anyway, it gets me angry to talk about it. But anyway, that's my spiel. You guys have any closing thoughts as we wrap things up tonight?
Yeah, I love that. I love that segment. I think that if anybody can tune in, do their part to boost those numbers, I think that's super important for the sport. No matter if you support the AUDL or not, if you love the game of Frisbee, I think that you need to have that game on in the same way that voting matters, right? You mentioned you turn it on just to have it on, but I think that the more people that we have tune in, the more these networks will start to take Ultimate seriously, and we might get a spotlight, and we might get, the spots here and there. And I think we do have the retention. People see it, they're like, oh shit, Ultimate is dope. What is that? Like, wow. Aviators had a clip go viral. We were the top post on Reddit for a day. There was like over 8 million views, and all of the comments were just like, how have I never seen this before? This is insane. What? Like, why are we watching football when there's this? You like internet trolls, whatever. But if I can encourage everybody to tune in to those broadcasts and show the viewing power that Ultimate has, then maybe we can take the next step, right? Like, if we beat football by double one week and then we quadruple those numbers the next week, I think that that's huge for our sport. And it's things that I wouldn't necessarily have thought about back when I was playing college ball, right? Flat ball. But it's hugely important for the development of our sport. And then Ultimate gets into the limelight. We start to get a little more funding. Things get a little bit more crazy. Next thing you know, we got the AUDL draft, and everybody's tuning in, and I'm going to Chicago somehow. I'm ready for that deep dish pizza. Let's go.
That's awesome. Goose, you and I have talked about it before, but I mean, you were skeptical that the first that you were going to was a hoax back in 2011, that this league, professional ultimate that was starting in 2012, didn't really exist. And, now, I mean, I have to imagine Facebook Live didn't exist in 2011. I don't know, maybe it did. But, obviously this thing has grown to a ridiculous amount, and, things can progress slowly, but we are progressing. I think you would agree.
Yeah, I mean, we've come light years since 2012. I mean, they had trouble getting referees at the games. There were 8 teams
That's still
total.
True sometimes.
That's true every once in a while, yeah. But they I will say, at least now, the referees generally have had some experience before they put the stripes on. And I mean, everything has evolved just incrementally each year. The talent depth is totally different than where it started. So I think we have a much more watchable game as a result of that, and rule changes that continue to evolve over time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think that one of my favorite things about Ultimate is that there are a bunch of different ways to play it, whether it's, beach and, you can play 4-on-4 or 5-on-5, or you can play 7-on-7 on a field that's way too big, in my opinion, or you can play 7-on-7 on a field that's 40 yards wide. Like, there are a bunch of different ways of playing the sport and having a bunch of fun. And in the end, I think we all want people to care about the sport that don't play it. Whether or not you want to call that legitimacy, or you just want to call that like people being entertained by the thing that you really love doing. I think that we're making advances to that year in and year out, and it's encouraging to hear those rating numbers be them as vague as they might be.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, I think we can leave it there. Goose and Aaron, thanks so much. This has been awesome. Great to see both your faces and hear your voices and get a tour of Weaver's room. And, Goose, your wife's been blowing up the comments all night long, so you can go chat with her about that once we get off the air. But really appreciate both you guys making the time. It's been awesome visiting with you. And for the 100+ people who are still tuned in right now, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming that there would be that many people still enjoying our jibber jabber. I don't enjoying maybe is a bit of a stretch, but watching our jibber jabber. So thanks to all of you, and for Thursday Night Rewind presented by Deschutes, for Goose Helton, for Aaron Weaver, I'm Evan Lepler saying good night. Look out for another edition of AUDL Retro, triple header of action coming up Saturday on the AUDL Facebook Live. On behalf of Luke Johnson and everyone with the American Ultimate Disc League, Friday. Talk to you soon, everybody. Good night.
Plays made by everybody. Foot blocks, layouts, scoobers, short pulls, double teams, poaches out of nowhere. This game really had it all on a gorgeous night in Southern California. We thank you so much for staying up late with us, and we congratulate the San Diego Growlers, who for the first time are headed to AUDL Championship Weekend. They'll play in a semifinal 3 weeks from tonight, August 10th in San Jose. Goose Helton heading back to the Final Four, a weekend he has had. For Megan Tormey and our entire crew, I'm Evan Lepler saying good night, or if you're watching on the East Coast, good morning. We'll see you next week from Raleigh, North Carolina, the Roughnecks and the Flyers. Again, the final score tonight for the final time, San Diego 25, LA 21. The Growlers and their fans are headed to championship weekend. Good night, everybody.